For today's review, we are looking at the Beast Boy Build-A-Figure from the Titans Build Wave, and as you know with most Build-A-Figures, they do not come with any data profile cards, so I can't really provide much context to why Beast Boy looks the way he does, and I've never read this comic run where he appears this way, where he's pretty much Hulk size. Now I do have the DC Comics Encyclopedia open. This is the 2021 edition, and in the Beast Boy section there is this part that reads, "Just the Beast. Source energy turned Beast Boy into more beast than boy for a time, making his animal transformations more difficult." And the image attached to this little section shows the same exact design Beast Boy that we are looking at right now in action figure form. If you have read this particular comic run and you want to provide some context in the comments below to why he looks the way he does, feel free to do so. It would be much appreciated. And with that said, let's dive into the aesthetics of this figure. Taking a closer look at Beast Boy here, you can see that the entirety of this figure is covered with a lot of sculpted details, and I want to start off with the suit. As you can see, the suit is covered with a lot of texturing detail that does carry over this design element that we have seen present throughout the entirety of this wave, except for Nightwing, who unfortunately does not have this sort of detail with his suit. But what's nice about this detail is that it does give some sense of realism to their suits, because they could have easily left a lot of these areas with a plain surface with no texturing, but they decide to add this in, and it just makes the suit better, and it stands out a lot more when you look at it. The red area here, in my opinion, I think it's fine leaving this with a flat surface because it does work with the overall design of the suit when you have all this other texturing areas that are filled in. So as you can see, the white parts of the suit are heavily textured, the black parts of the suit are also heavily textured, and when you go down to the leg area, you can see that the cutoff point right here, where you have another red part, actually gives it a good sort of middle indication where this is where the suit ends. And then when you get to the lower part of his legs, you can see that there are sculpted fur texture, which is painted in this light green. And then when you look at his feet, there are sculpted toenails that are painted in this dark green color. And the bottom of his feet are pretty much just flat. But yeah, I really like the fact that the red parts serve as indicators for this sort of design going through the entirety of his suit. Now, there's not a whole lot of red parts on here. It's pretty much just this front part, the side, the bottom here, and of course on the back side, it's pretty much the same thing as well. You have this red detail that is also present, as well as the back side of the bottom of his legs. The details are pretty simple in that sense. And when we look at the other parts of the figure, such as his arms, you can see that the fur texture continues into his arm, as well as the upper parts of his shoulders, which is also nicely done as well. Now, the paint does look like scribbling, right, in some cases, but I think it's okay for what it is. You know, you have like darker fur patches, and then you have like these brighter fur patches, so that's nice. And then even the inside of his arm here also has that detail as well. And then for this side of his hand, he does have the open gesture hand, where you can see his nails. They are sharp, they are also sculpted, and they are painted in the same color that we see with the toenails. And that same detail continues on with this side of the arm as well, where you can see the fur texture that is sculpted for the arm as well as the shoulders, and there is this clash of lighter green and dark green colors painted together, and it's the same thing on the inside of the arm as well. And for the hand gesture here, it is just your standard fist hand, which I felt they could have thrown another fist hand in with this Build-A-Figure, because it would have been nice to have like two fist hands instead of just one fist hand and one open gesture hand, but they decided not to. And for the head sculpt now, it is not a bad looking head sculpt. I love the way that the entire head sculpt is sculpted. You do have his teeth right here sticking out like that. Even the hair sculpting of it is done nicely. There is a sort of mix of colors here with the green part of his hair. It's not that visible, but you can tell that there is a wash to it, right? So I do like the dark green hair that is painted in this style, and the overall sculpting of the hair is also done nicely. And he does have a sort of beard going on down here as well. I don't know what to call this except for a beard. So, yeah, the head sculpt is nicely done. And overall, the entirety of this Build-A-Figure is one that is just good, in my opinion. And this is the main reason why I wanted to complete this build figure, is because aesthetically, it just looks really nice to have on the shelf. And the other reason why I needed to complete this build figure is because I missed out on the Walmart exclusive version of Beast Boy at the time because I just never found it. And as I've said with Walmart Gold Labels, I never have much luck with some of the ones that I've tried to look for because my Walmarts are not the greatest. So this is why this Beast Boy Build-A-Figure is still my main Beast Boy for my Teen Titans shelf. And that is pretty much most of the aesthetics for Beast Boy. Let's move on to the articulation of this Build-A-Figure now. Starting with the head sculpt, he can look up this much, as you can see, which is not the greatest because the neck joint on this Build-A-Figure does restrict a lot of the movements with the head sculpt in some areas. Looking down, he can still do decently, I suppose. Turning his head left and right is not an issue. Tilting his head side to side, he can still do. So yeah, the overall head sculpt articulation is decent, but not the greatest. And for his arms, he can stretch them out this much, as you can see. He can also swing them back and forth with no problems. He also has the bicep swivel up here. And for the articulation of his arms, it is a single jointed articulation. That's all it can do. But there's no rotation cut down here because he does have the bicep swivel up here. Usually, in most cases, if there's no bicep swivel for the arms, there would be a rotation cut right here where the articulation joint would be. And for his hands, he does have swivel and he does have wrist articulation. And moving on to his torso, he does have some range of movement, not a whole lot. As you can see, the rotation is not the greatest. He can lean forward a little bit, which is actually not bad because, you know, sometimes he can't even lean forward. He can lean back a little bit, not the greatest, but there is at least some movement right here with the upper torso. For the waist, there is a nice flow of rotation here, which is great because for some reason, the waist rotation is better than the upper torso rotation. They could have carved out a little bit more room here so it could have moved freely. Leaning forward with the waist, not happening. Leaning back, also not happening. So when it comes to just the rotation, it's amazing, but all the other movements, not so good. And now moving on to his legs. Can he do the splits? Not exactly, because this piece right here does restrict a lot of the movements with his legs. It is a soft PVC, but it's also kind of thick in terms of the material, so you're not really getting much free movement with his legs. As for the swivels here, they do not work either, which is kind of strange because in most cases, most Build-A-Figures have very loose thigh swivels, which is good because it allows the legs to actually like have some sort of thigh swivel movement. But for this one, when I put the legs onto the pegs that are pretty much present underneath the waist parts, once it went in, no more free movement with the legs, which is kind of sad. Now, in terms of kicking, you're not getting much there either, which is not good. So, getting this guy into any sort of action poses, you're not going to have much fun doing that because he can't kick his legs out. That's crazy. Now, he does have double jointed in the legs, but they are pretty stiff on my copy for some reason. Let me see if I can get it to work. So yeah, there should be double joints working here, but they are stiff again for some reason. So there's that problem. And then for his feet, there is articulation. There is a swivel with his feet as well down here, as well as toe articulation. So that is pretty much all the articulation for Beast Boy. It is decent, but it is not the greatest, especially the legs. Those are probably the weakest part of this Build-A-Figure, unfortunately. So if you do want to get them into some sort of cool action pose, you might have to do some adjustments or some cuts to some areas if you are good at retooling your action figures, because I don't know how to do that. So there is that whole problem. And now let's move on to the comparison section. Here he is with the other figures in this build wave, and one thing I love about the Titans build wave is that if you're somebody like me who never collected DC action figures from the previous iteration of DC Multiverse, and the Mcfarlane DC Multiverse line was your introduction to start collecting DC action figures, this wave was a good launching point to start your Titans Young Justice shelf. Because all the figures that you get from this wave, all the characters are part of the same team, and they happen to all be comic book designs. And that's one thing I love about the Mcfarlane DC Multiverse line when it comes to their build figure waves, is that most of them are under a theme, and everything fits nicely together by the end of it. So this is the same thing I have for this wave that I love, is that everything goes together nicely. And as you can see, having all 5 of these figures next to each other do work out in the end here. I don't have enough room on this table to show what they look like with all the other characters I have that are part of the Titans Young Justice roster. In the future, I will post a photo in the post section of my channel, and you will see what that looks like. But yeah, that is pretty much the comparisons here with all the other figures. And if you did enjoy today's review of Beast Boy here, do give this video a like. If you want to subscribe to the channel for more action figure content and whatever else I do on here, it would be much appreciated. And with that said, take care, and I will see you in the next video.